for your brand, and I can put it on TikTok.
Indeed.
I hope that answers.
And it's we can then now also agree and say, let's call on to corporates to come and fund your firms. I think it's very important as we prepare for the monetization of digital platforms like YouTube, TikTok, even Meta related products like your Facebooks, WhatsApps are now being also used to create or to generate an income as we prepare for that process, because I do know the Ministry of Information, which I work for, I know we're having conversations around that because it has been a topical issue in terms of monetization. Really, we do see our creatives are suffering. They have one of the biggest followers. I think some of them are now even known in China, in other countries. But these platforms, or paying platforms like PayPal are always saying, but Namibia, you are just 2 million and all that. They always bring up the issue of your populations, numbers. But when you look at things, I mean, Namibia is doing great now. We're at the 3 million now. and if you look at countries like Estonia has less than the population that we do have, but they continue to enjoy these opportunities. But of course, these conversations are ongoing. But I think it's to say corporates should partner up with you to tell your stories. Let's find ways to ensure that your business model is sustainable. And at the end of the day, you're also able to create jobs for the country, for your fellow filmmakers and so forth. And when we build what we'll maybe call a Namibia hood, or how would you call it in Namibia? Namhood, yeah? Namlihood. Yes. So one day the future would want to have something like that. But Asiseli has something to say on that one.
I actually wanted to add something. Sorry, as you were talking, I realized something is going off in my head saying that there is space for everyone.
Yes.
And, it's not only just about creating filmmakers. Like, if there are IT guys out there, just create the platforms for us, because we also need those platforms. Maybe we don't have to wait for PayPal. Maybe we don't have to wait for Showmax. Maybe we can create our own app where people can be able to take their stories and monetize. Because, like we've been saying, everyone is at that space now where we want to support local and we want to see our own thing. So it's not just about creating stories. We also have the responsibility, to create platforms where we can see our movies, because that's where a lot of the block is as well.
Indeed, that's a very interesting point, because you want IT people to code.
Yeah.
I know she's throwing to me to say the ministry must come up with something, but it's a collective effort. Yes, government has its role to play. I think it's quite very important. Tapping from the vice president's participation in the Creatives conference recently. Of course, she did mention how important the creative industry is for the country. And of course, our Minister, too, of Information and Communication Technology has also really seen the need. And when you see her on internet, get out there. We have stories to tell, but you need to open it up for us. But I think Sally mentioned a great one, of course, with our people here. A lot of coding is taking place in the country. We are building the IT space in Namibia. It's really growing. Just recently, we just concluded the ICT Summit, and you could see the creativity that came out of that. So maybe in our next ICT Summit, we can say, let's create a Namibia's Netflix. Let's create Namibia's Showmax, so that there is a platform for our creators. So that there is a platform for our creators. But I see Jackie Pops also wants to add to that conversation just before we allow for questions from the audience.
I like the point where you mentioned also the vice president, because we had the chance. Like the point where you mentioned also the vice president, because we had the chance to meet her at Technovation. And by the way, we are part of the winners of Technovation Socials 2024. So we had a chance to meet her as well, and she really loves what we are doing. She really loves the creative industry. And also one of the advice she gives us is just we need to seek more ways as well on how we can monetize our work. Like what we are discussing here, the point that I made when I say that let the money chase you, don't chase the money. Everyone wants money. Money is good, we need money. We're just saying that don't let that be your drive. You need to have passion and you need to have patience. So if you can do that, it will be really easy for you to keep pushing, because the thing about this industry, it's about keeping up. It's not about catching up. Yeah. So many try to catch up and it doesn't work. Yeah. You fall and then you come back again. So like for us, what works for us is that we have a motto that drives us, that we need to create on our work, and we don't go out there begging companies to fund us. We make sure that we are good at what we are doing, and then companies come for us, and it has been working for us. Like all the companies we have on board, mm-hmm. we didn't reach out to them. They reached out to us. So it's something that it's different. It takes patience. Like if I tell you how many years it took for us to be at that level, not everyone really can be at that.
Can you imagine? So it's just that passion, it's that commitment, knowing that the end result will be great. And like you mentioned it's like if you push, the brains will come to you and not the other way around.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
You mentioned something very important about building a team.
Yeah.
Like in cases where you need money urgently and you are able to build a team, you can have someone that is good in that area of finance that can bring you money as a content creator. Yeah. And then that person can be able to collect for you that money, and then you can continue doing your work. Excellent. That is also something that is very good.
Excellent.
Building a team. But about team building, I'm sorry, it's a challenge.
Yes.
Yeah, it can be a challenge.
Take us through before I allow for questions. I see there are indications.
He said something again. Yes. Michael said something again.
I think you must just get a sales team. Yeah, get your friends that are good in sales. Get close to them, because they are the ones that can kind of help you push.
Yeah, because sometimes your mind is set on the creativity. You don't have the time to keep up with the accounting books. You don't have the time to go and pitch your idea to that person that will really come and invest into your product. You understand? Your mind is on perfecting that art and ensuring that art is out there. I think that's what you're trying to say.
Yes.
Indeed.
Exactly.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to open up for some questions. Just introduce yourself. Also take us through from where you are, if you don't mind, and pose your question. I think my team is also going to assist with the microphone. Please just rise, and then you just introduce yourself and pose your question. I think there's one indication here. I'm very, very excited. It's getting heated here. It's getting heated.
Okay, my name is Velsri Maton. I'm a scriptwriter, producer, and I hope to be a director soon. Okay. Basically, what I want to say is, I understand what all of you say, but I'm sure that all these young people, what they want to hear from you is alternative ways to make money from the film industry. We don't want to hear about going to corporate, about product placement, and about government funding, because all of that is there, and I'm sure that if you are serious about filmmaking, you know about all these options. What we want to hear about is, what did you do to make extra money? Because, for example, you have a great, like you said, you have a big audience. Did you ever try to sell T-shirts to your audience? How did it work out? Did they buy you T-shirts? Did you make maybe key rings? What did you do? For example, look at what is his name? Ease or whatever.
Yes.
He's basically the only person that I can see that have a lot of merch that he's selling. What about you guys? What did you do?
So it's beside the production of your film.
Yeah.
What did you do to create income for yourself to ensure that you're sustainable?
Did your income even reach? Did your income reach the money, the budget of your film that you created?
Yeah.
Did you break even?
Yeah.
Did you make more money than the funding that you got from Namibia film industry?
Okay.
Because that is not for me an income. That is just to create a product.
A foundation.
Yes.
So instead, the question from what I'm getting.
Let me just quickly finish. Then
Go
I'll
ahead,
sit down.
please.
And another thing, it's good to tell people, okay, go to this place and wait. Money will come to you. But a lot of creatives do not have the backup, the financial backup to be able to wait for income. And I don't think we live in that society now. Maybe you could do it because you had that backup. There was somebody that you can go to and ask for money. But there's a lot of young people that don't have that option to sit and wait for money to come to them. They have to make money and they have to make it now. And there's a lot of opportunity for you guys to introduce your stuff, because I have never seen your YouTube video. Look at the bottles. Look at this one. There's no films or anything that any of you created on this bottles. How will I know where to find what is your films or what is happening?
Yeah. So her question is, how did you start with your? How did you finance your film production? Besides your normal government grants, corporates, did you get your own money? How do you sustain yourself in the long run as well? Maybe briefly take us through. Jackie, let's start with you.
Okay, I think I understand her question, and we have touched on it, but we didn't just get into deeper detail. And I think what she's asking for is deeper detail. Like what we said, we need to find ways on how to monetize our work. You are in the film business, right? What do you want to do? You want to create films. Okay, now if you want to create films, now you ask yourself, what do you want money for? Is it for the film? Okay, are you selling the film? So if you are selling the film, where are you going to sell the film? So you are asking yourself all of these questions, and then you need to see that, is a film your product? What is your product? And how are you going to get the money out of it? Into what you are doing, that what you are in the business of is filmmaking, and you are telling stories, and story is king. What you are selling is the story. There are a lot of people in this industry that are doing the same thing that you are doing. And it's very hard to make money out of it, and that's why we have to keep this discussion around the money. But building an online base is actually the start of making money in this industry. Because if you're going to get paid, you need to have something to be paid for. Like, if you're going to sell t-shirts, you can't just start out as a content creator and you are starting out today and you're already having t-shirts to sell. I promise you nobody's going to buy that, only your friends that are going to buy that, because there is no reason why they should buy your product. For us, what we did, like for instance in our case, we have a product and it's called Omunahambo, a web series. We actually call it our product. It's what we focus on creating. We built it and we built an online base with it. Like I'm saying, we are having more than 100,000 views per episode. So now we come up with a product like selling t-shirts. Now when we sell our t-shirts, all of our t-shirts are usually just sold out. We made t-shirts, we came up with the first edition, it was sold out. We came up with the second one, it was sold out. Now the point is that we are not lucky, is that we are already having people that are buying our products. And when we ask people, why are you buying our t-shirt? If I come with our t-shirts here and I ask her to buy the t-shirts, she will not buy. It's because she doesn't know our content. So she's not the right person to sell to. So we sell.
Maybe the question will also be, how are you branding yourself to make your content known? I think that's also the gap that she wants you to perhaps fill, in terms of I know that this is Jackie Pop's production? How are you branding for someone who might not know you or is not within your followership on the platforms that you use? How do you ensure that really your web series is known out there? I can relate to perhaps maybe Michael's Rock the Boat, because I have seen it myself. I follow his Instagram stories, for instance, and that drives me to YouTube to go watch further what the episode is. So I think that's what she's also trying to say. So how are you branding your product, like you're saying?
We are selling the story. So it's actually the story that we are having. It's actually the story that we are depending on. Like the point I wanted to make is that even though we are selling t-shirts, we are not selling t-shirts. People are buying our t-shirts, but when we ask them, why did you buy the t-shirt? They say, oh guys, I like your stories. I'm seeing where the people are taking us. So the reason why the person is buying the t-shirt is because of the story. they didn't say anything about the T-shirt. They didn't say, I like your T-shirt. You guys, this design is very nice.
Okay.
But the material is very nice. They are saying you guys make nice stories.
Okay, Miss Sally, from your side, before we allow for more, let's allow them to
Yeah.
equally answer, and then we get
Also-
back to.
She also has a question.
Yeah.
I want to just go back to, I think what you're asking is a very important question in terms of what do I do while I wait for this money that we're talking about. I will not lie, I was selling massage chairs while I was writing my story. So what I want to really say is that we are in the world where we have to be multi-skilled, we have to be, resource ourselves. So we're not saying just sit at home and just write. We're saying get a job because you need taxi money to get yourself to all these different places. If you are studying, finish your studies, get yourself as far financially to be able to buy small, kind of buy your equipment that you need. Because for me, that's how I did it. Ms. Valserine, I actually worked with her, and I was really doing paperwork, right? And that was about 5 years ago, I think about 6 years ago. And I did that. I was doing paperwork. I was nowhere close to the movie set, but I knew that that's where my heart wanted to be. So I think all in all, really what I would say is have your job, or if you are studying, study hard while you get to that point. We're not saying that you should sit. We're saying make yourself resourceful. Look at your paper to see those call outs and the data and all those things. So
it's that, I think I started off by saying you are not putting both feet into that
not in this
production, but
industry,
you
no.
you kind of have a secondary income stream.
You do,
that
yeah.
builds you and so forth. But Michael, before I also, maybe you want to add something, or are you satisfied? I'll come to you, don't
I
worry.
want to answer her question
Yes.
because she was asking, besides your sponsorships,
Yeah.
besides product placement, how have you guys found alternative, means of income streams? And for Ngandu events specifically, like I touched on it earlier on, we are an events and production company. So when it comes to the production side of things, we may not necessarily make money from Rock the Boat, but what we have done is to now also tap into the event space. So when we go to Rundu and we are filming Rock the Boat, there are weekends where we have combined us doing Rock the Boat as well as having a festival. One artist is also actually here, Sally Boss Madam.
Sally was madam.
Who has graced our platforms. And I'm mentioning her name because when she came to our platform, she did not only perform on Rock the Boat, because Rock the Boat is actually not a paying gig. We don't pay artists to perform on Rock the Boat. However, when we now speak of an event where we are going to charge, for people to come to the festival, we are going to sell alcohol. Those are the alternative avenues that we have explored, because we understand that for Rock the Boat, it's mainly just the production team that's there. So you can't even sell tickets there. So what we do is partner the production side of things with an event. And with events, there are a lot of ways you can actually make money. And the Rock the Boat is one of the elements that actually drive people to the festival, because they've seen visually what we are able to do, how cool it is. They just want to be at a Ngandu event platform. So that's how we have tried to actually make or explore other avenues of revenues besides just your product placement, because the product placement in most of the times it's only enough to cover the production costs. So when we are talking an event, that's a different conversation, because there you can sell alcohol, you can sell tickets, you can sell stalls actually for people to exhibit. So those are some of the avenues that we have explored, and it's also backed up by the fact that we have Rock the Boat. Some people just know us from Rock the Boat, and just how cool that is, they want to go to the festival. I hope
Very
I
well.
answered.
Maybe just rise and pose your question.
I think I didn't make myself 100% clear. What I'm talking about, I'm not talking about people. There's a lot of young people that's unemployed. And I believe the film industry can employ a lot of more young people because there's a lot of opportunities to do that. It's not developed enough. What I'm talking about, I'm not talking about people with resources. For you to be able to do all that, you have resources, you already have resources to do that. That money came from somewhere. All that basis that you're talking about to be able to go to festivals and do whatever you do, it's resources that you have. I'm talking about the filmmaker that's sitting at home that creates YouTube videos. And I don't agree with you. All major films in the world today, they make their films based on a media storytelling basis, meaning they have different streams of income. They have all this merch that they're selling. Even if you go to Star Wars, they have merch that they sell to their fans, all kinds of things. It's figurines, it's T-shirts, it's posters. There's a lot of them. They have video games, they have, I don't know. Video games goes with like all the major action films. So you can't say you are just telling your story. That's not how the world works these days. You can't just say that. And you can't dismiss selling T-shirts like that. And you can't say that I won't buy your T-shirt. Because if you have a good graphic T-shirt, just with your face, as you're sitting now, and it's good graphics, and you say Jackie Pop, who tells you I won't sell that T-shirt? Because you have actually a very interesting face. How can you say that? You can't say that. So don't dismiss selling T-shirts like that. That selling T-shirts can be an income for somebody else.
Yeah.
And he can just start on YouTube and say, this is my T-shirts I'm selling. And maybe he's a very good graphic designer. Even if he doesn't have a job, he can still do that with maybe free software. Go print, find a little bit of money, go print T-shirts. And with that T-shirt money, he can even build his
Portfolio.
business.
Of business.
Like that.
Yeah. I think essentially what you're telling us is also just to look at other income streams. Let's not fully focus on the production of that film, but let's find ways that we can still generate to remain sustainable. At the end of the day, you want to remain sustainable, but most importantly, you want to be profitable. At the end of the day, I think that's your advice to them also as filmmakers. I think some of them have shared their stories in terms of what they're doing on the sides to keep up with the production cost and so forth. So I think it's an advice to the house to say, look at other income streams, other items that you can exploit, tapping from your international filmmakers. Maybe that format for them is working. If it's working, perhaps let's try it out in Namibia. And then let's see if Namibian people can really take up and support that T-shirt. So, Jackie Pops, you won a customer just right here at Avani Hotel in Windhoek, Namibia. Thank you so much for that question. I want to allow for other questions before we close. Any other question? I know there's something burning in your heart. You want to find out how do I get to where Jackie is, Sally is, where Michael is? How does Michael get to balance Rock the Boat and the whole festival? It's a lot of work. We are speaking about building a team, and the cost implications is quite a lot. You want to ask questions around his funding model. What is his funding model? These are questions we want to ask because we are looking at income generation, right? Yes, I see there's one hand here. Yes, excellent. Just stand up and introduce yourself. Take us through your question.
Afternoon. My name is Jasmine Kauvere. I'm just a public servant. So I just wanted to add on Mommy's point. Like, as he said that on Don't Know, I would be like asking, who's Jackie Pop? What does he do? Like, so the next person would be like, no, you don't know Jackie Pop. He does this, he does that. So I would be interested more.
Okay.
So, and my question was, how in Namibia do we get to push our kids, the young ones? Like if I have a child who is smart in making films or telling nice stories, how do I get to push that child to get to the film inductions? So that's what's my question.
Yeah. So there's a young person in Dola, very talented, but how do we give them the platform? Sally?
Well, it's actually a good thing that you are bringing it up because there was a conversation that we were having at doing a actors workshop for child actors because there's a story that we're working on and the child actor that we're looking at, we need to kind of develop and hone them, and so we saw the gap. But I do believe that there is the Namibia Film School that also does after-school programs for children. So if after this, and I can be able to give you the number if you want to send your kids.
Very well. Any other opportunities that young, small children, school-going children, they are talented, they just need, I think if you go to the College of the Arts after school, they go to these drama classes, but after that, what happens? They want to also be seen on your web series, maybe on your next Netflix Showmax series. Jackie, Pops, do you have any opportunities for them? Or collaborating with them?
Yeah, like in our case, we are having so many requests like that on our social media platforms. People saying, I want to join you guys, I want to join you. So it's also a difficult thing on our end on how we can accommodate everyone. But we always advise people to start out with something on their phone, like you saying at what is at their disposal.
Yeah.
Like you can use your phone to start creating your content. You just start with your videos, and then if you want to work with me, then because of those videos that you were creating, or someone else want to work with you because of those videos, they'll be interested to work with you because of those videos. You'll stand out from the crowd.
Very well. Any other question? I see there's one here ready to pose that question. We also like to acknowledge our online viewers. Of course, we do acknowledge Sarafia Nadunya that is saying, just giving us a thumbs up right there on our online platforms. Please, if you have a question, please don't hesitate to just drop it on our comment and we will pose it right to our panelists here on this interesting conversation that we're having. Yes, sir. What's your question?
Good afternoon. My name is Urfapo. As a person involved in the industry, I often hear that Namibian films are not relatable. Which for me I believe is, I don't know what it really means. What do you mean relatable, right? Because when you watch an essay film, is that relatable to you? So now my question for the panelists is, because I've heard a lot about relatability, how do you achieve the balance between relatability, creative freedom, and reaching international audiences? Thank you.
Good. Interesting question. Yes, interesting question, I must say. What dictates that this film is relatable to me as a viewer or a potential viewer? Anyone?
I'm glad that you brought up that point because there are so many movies that are the same already. But I think what makes the difference is the language. Like Afilende, if you watch it, you'll probably see like, oh, it kind of reminds me of Sex in the City, or it kind of reminds me of this. So there are many stories that are the same. I mean, look at those exorcism movies, all the same storyline. But I think it's the language that the people speak that can make it different. So instead of, people saying, oh, that's my friend, but in Namibia we say, that's my Felende. So I would probably say it's the language and probably the visual parts that can make it different. Otherwise, we all can have the same story, but is it in the language that I understand? I hope that answers.
Okay. Any other inputs? Are you good? Michael?
I just wanted to add on that. I think how you balance that is also by trying to just be uniquely Namibian, because I'm going to, point out towards now just the lifestyle side of film, not necessarily the movies. When we speak of Rock the Boat, for instance, people perform with, bands everywhere else in the world, right? But they don't perform on a cruising boat. Do you get me? So it's about being uniquely you as Namibian and using what you have to actually stand out, because you can do, like she said, there are a lot of movies that are similar, but how do you stand out, So it's important to, just be unique and do something that may be the same, but the way you execute it is totally different from how it's done elsewhere in the world.
And you're not cruising on the ocean, you're cruising on the Kavango River. It's different. It's not your normal, what do you call them? Your yacht, We are used to those nice Hollywood yacht. But we want to see people cruising on the Kavango River, We want to see people do something around the Neketal Dam. It's something that's happening, something unique out of it and all that. Jackie Pops, I see you have something also to add on that.
Yes, I think I understand his question better now based on what my colleague has said.
Yeah.
Like in our case, we had an opportunity to visit South Africa last year for benchmarking purposes. So we had a chance to learn more from industry professionals. We asked them questions about just like what is going on here. So what they are doing there, they are doing the same thing that we are doing here. It's just that they are doing it differently and they have resources at their disposal. And what they are doing when it comes to relatability, if I understand your question, it's that, do you mean how are our stories really relatable to the people, or are you saying, because like in what I'm saying with what I'm connecting to the trip is that these guys are focusing on their cultures. They tell the stories that they can relate to, like for instance, King of Joburg you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
That is South Africa. If you know Joburg, you can relate what is going on there.
How dangerous it is.
So that is really a story that is relatable. Even when you are watching the movie, you're like, oh, before something happens, you're already like, oh, this is what is happening. So even in our case, with our web series, that's where we got some of the inspiration from. So Omunahambo is something that is relatable to people that speak Oshikwanyama.
Mm.
So when you understand Omunahambo, you understand it's someone that really doesn't know with the modern things. They cannot really survive like in Windhoek because they don't know how to cross the road. That's what then makes the show really interesting and what people like to follow. So when it comes to our part now, like in Omunahambo, is that you want to tell that story so that people, even the children or the grown-ups, can understand, because they don't have access to Netflix.
Yeah.
And they cannot understand content on Netflix. So now how do we entertain them? We create content that they can understand in our language. That's how we relate our content to them.
I think that's quite very clear. Maybe I see there's another hand before I allow my good friend Sally. Sally's Mbushe now. Before I allow it, it's also to say, when you watch the opening movie of last night, for those ones who were at the cinema last night, and you see how Hazel was expressing the kwek of up. For someone sitting in Mariental Keetmanshoop and they're listening and seeing the environment that she's in, by the plus, verstaan jy? Say gooi die. You understand? And you can relate, and that's what makes it interesting, because I can understand. And sometimes we speak English so much that we forget about our own cultures. You understand? But when you get to watch a movie that is speaking or that's relatable to your vernacular, it makes it more interesting. Find jy wil die story mooi hoor. Verstaan jy? So that is what I think what they're trying to tell us, that's how it becomes more relatable to you. Because if I see a film around Oshiramwe, for instance, those ones that understand what Oshiramwe is, they would know. And they would be entertained because they know, oh, this is how Oshiramwe works. And of course, there are questions, cousin. What is cousin? The storyline will tell you what is Oshiramwe and what happens within that practice. But I'm not the speaker tonight. Sally, you have a beautiful question. Just rise for the sake of our online viewers. And just pose it through.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sally, also Sally. Sally number 1, not Sally number 2. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm older than her at some point, so. Okay, so for me, it's not really a question.
Yeah.
I came in late, so I don't really have a question or so. But I'm not a filmmaker. I'm a musician, so I'm also your counterpart. You know, we're in the same boat.
Yeah.
I was listening to your question, and I was listening to his question, and they're very. I felt like I wish I could just give an answer right now, but I don't know if it's an answer, but I just want to say that I kind of relate, because in the creative industry, a musician is just the same, you know. For us, sometimes I feel it's wesa. So. The thing about relatability and movies and stuff, I always feel like sometimes we as creatives, we are put in boxes. Because I felt like that. When you create something, you'll find people like that thing. And now you have another idea for something else. But everybody's like just going back there. No, that's the thing you must do. That's the thing you must do. So you sometimes end up leaving the new idea because you're trying to make everyone happy because that's what they liked. So for me, my example is a couple of songs I've done in the past. People are still stuck to a certain song. Oh, but you know, that was Madame song, that's the one. But to tell the truth, I have other ideas. But I end up abandoning those things because now every time I step on stage, I'm expected to do that. We just want that. And you have to, as a creative, for me it's not a question, I'm just adding. Yeah. So I think we need to sometimes just abandon ship and follow your whatever. I had I'm in a black child in a black neighborhood and you want to sing, and my parents are like, yeah, no, we don't even have a good examples of musicians who made it, because now they're thinking, if you're not going to make millions like an American, then it's not worth it. So now I was the only one in my family who had to now, I want to do this thing, but I don't know who to use as an example to say, but look, who also did it. So, but I had to keep going to the point where, other musicians started popping up and they're doing great. So now you can use them and say, but you see, there's Gaza. Yeah, good one there. There's Dog. There's who. There's this. So I believe when we keep creating, we cannot stop. Don't stop. You never know what's going to happen. And Madame, when you asked your question, I felt like, I know, because when I was starting off, I felt I hated how everybody goes, just keep going. You're like, going where? What must I do? Where do I even take the song? What do I do? Where do I find the studio? Sometimes I think there's levels when you are beginning. Everybody's not in the same level. And then you find the level of those who have a little something to be able to pay for that 500 to do a demo. Then you have those like Sally. You don't even know where to go. You don't even know where to start. You don't have that 500, but every advice you're hearing on radio is, yeah, just start, just go. Start where, my brother? You understand? But then I grew up and I started to understand that the beginning is not always the same. So we will not always have the answer for every little thing. And we won't have the answer for everyone until someone pops up with an experience like that willing to share. And I think that's where moments like this are important, where we share. So your beginning might have been you had a 500 to do the demo. The other ones had to. For me, I had to walk from my mother's house to the KCR stadium, which doesn't even exist anymore. Walking, and had to get a friend who would walk with me after midnight because we had to do that one recording. After they are done with all their work and you can do that demo song. And I had to stay up late and go home 1 o'clock at night and someone escorts you. It was a long story. In fact, Sally, you must make a movie about me and my story. I have a feeling it will go very well, eh? Yeah. So I think for me, thank you for inviting me to this, because it just reminded me that sometimes the beginnings are so hard and you don't even know where to start. But I will tell you, for me, honestly, it had to go even beyond just starting. It had to go beyond pushing to, I was at every show that I could attend. And in fact, for me, I went to an organizer and say, hey, I got a song. You don't have to pay me. It doesn't sound so good, But I really want people to hear it. And it was at down here at the warehouse. It was called the warehouse. And I remember they're like, oh, okay, God Level is performing. And that time, God Level, it's God Level. Yeah, but you can perform before the opening act. You know what that means? You are the sound check. Yes, it started there. So our beginnings are not going to be the same. And the whole thing about, look, I love Nigerian movies. I cannot relate to the witchcraft, but I like it anyway. No, I'm serious. Honestly. Exactly. But you know what? Because they kept going and kept going and kept going, now we turn to also like it. There were things we didn't understand. And in fact, I feel like sometimes as Namibians, we need to learn to really appreciate what our people are doing. Because I see people do complain with the Namibian films. They say, what? The acting is not up to standard. The sound, the light. I'm like, have you seen do you watch what I watch on TV? You're just following the story, and sometimes someone is crying, and you know how the Nigerian movie sounds, right? And you can't hear anything, but you just, you are there. You're like, you know what? I'm with you. So we have to keep creating regardless. One day our industry will grow. And
Indeed.
we will have more.
Indeed, indeed.
And I was on the river.
Indeed.
With Michael.
Yeah.
I went because, not because, like it's true, they were not paying, but I went to experience floating in the river, knowing that there were crocodiles.
Yes.
I was like, I'll be there. Thank you.
And you were safe. Thank you so much for that input. It's good to hear our creatives sharing, their experiences and how to road in terms of development. And I think it's quite good that we also have this platform, because this is where you get to share your ideas. But her message is just keep going. Don't give up, keep going. And that's what's important. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of this interesting session. I will allow my panelists to give their closing remarks, just to take us through, and then we'll call it and have fun later with something special prepared for all of you. We'll start with Michael.
I don't know if I'm going to call this closing remarks, or maybe just circling back to what Sally said about, the fact that we need to start our own platforms instead of waiting for, to get on platforms like Netflix and Showmax and platforms like that. What I wanted to add to that is, in the past, there have been, attempts, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there was a year where Namibia Film Commission had a platform like that. And also there is MTC TV Plus. My advice to that is, I think it didn't work out, or even the MTC TV Plus isn't as big as it should be, and that's because they do not have flagship shows. If you are going to start your own Netflix, it's important for you to have your own flagship show. I'm big on just researching on platforms and all of that. And one reference that I can give is Stars in America. Stars was a platform that didn't have a lot of content on there. But the flagship show that they had was Power, which was produced by 50 Cent. And because of how good, Power is, you can, Google it now. Stars has crazy numbers because people could only access, Power through Stars. So I feel like if MTC TV Plus also had a flagship show about Namibia, and we can only access that show there, it would have been doing better numbers than it's doing. So if you are an IT guy somewhere there listening, and maybe you want your own Netflix that's just going to cater to Namibians, I think it's important you have your own flagship show, where it's very relatable to Namibians, but they can't find it on YouTube. They need to go there. Yeah. And then lastly, I just wanted to point up on kids in film. I think it's the same as sports. If you want your son to actually do well, you need to find them an agent, you need to find them a club. It's the same with film. To, get roles for them Other than that, it's not going to work. And also to just be interested in platforms like this. A lot of creatives ask that, no, we don't have information about how to go about the film business. But you look at a platform like this, they are not here. You know, where are you going to get the information if platforms like NFC puts events like this for you guys actually, but you don't show up? So it's just one of those things where when platforms like this are created, this is where you get the information. You know, so I'm encouraging for a lot of creatives to make use of workshops of this kind to network, you know, and learn how to navigate the space.
Very well, very well. 2 key points: collaboration, find that agent for that little buddy that's ready to act and showcase his or her potential in the film industry. We need to also call on big corporates to really invest in, especially those ones with now platforms that were mentioned, to really invest in a flagship film. You know, we also want to have, you know, Namibia's Seven the Land kind of something long that is relatable. You know, that we can always, you know, there was, I don't know if you can recall, there was a time when we grew up, and every time, I think was it 5 or 6 o'clock, or 7 o'clock, you would want to go and sit by your TV and watch that film. So basically, that is what we want to have. But yeah, Sally?
Michael covered quite a lot, but from the storytelling point, I would just encourage you to not only centralize your story, like go out there are so many stories out there, not just city themed stuff, you know. Go out there, do your research. There's so much that is happening in this country that we can cover, not only in film, even in documentary. And collaborate. It's so important. We're all sitting here because we collaborated and we put our heads together, we put our skills together. You know, our parents are there. I used my mom to do my catering during Afelende, so even that is an alternative to get yourself so much that you can do. So don't be limited, and don't be scared. And I would also say don't be afraid to ask for help, especially from me, because I know that there's a lot of gatekeeping in this industry, and I think I just want to let you all know that my DMs are always open.
Awesome. Jackie, from your side?
From my side, I just want to say that as we are running out of time, I'm seeing that many of us here might be having questions, and I just want to say that we can connect afterwards. I'll be happy to answer your questions. We are very thankful for your attention, and I want to say that we have so much to share with you guys. Please subscribe to our channel, Films Icon. Subscribe at Jackie Pop. And I also want to share with you that at the end of this month, we'll be visiting the United States.
Amazing conversations around alternative formats for our film industry and also income generations. I'd like to thank everyone for really following us throughout the day. We had different conversations around different topics, and of course closing off on an interesting one tonight. And we really urge you to be part of day 2 tomorrow at the same place. We will continue to have conversations. Don't forget, we are also screening our films concurrently with sessions here. They're actually being screened at Steer Chemical Marua Mall. So please do go and watch a movie. It's for free. With that said, we have come to the end of this great conversation, and we look forward to having you again online. I do see over 500 people have watched this episode, like the filmmakers will say. From myself, Shoki and Jimmy, and the crew behind this great production, is goodbye, Namibia.